dive super.
Dive super pilot.
Yes, you ready to dive?
We are ready.
Roger, stand by. Bridge, dive super.
Go ahead, dive super.
Yes, permission to commence the dive.
Roger, commence the dive, your permission.
Roger that. Going down 15 meters to 50 meters and hold.
Down at 15 to 50.
Co-pilot, are we ready for CTD? Yeah. Excellent.
Passing 10, 10 meters.
Roger, 10 meters.
ROV 10 meters.
Roger, thank you.
Once we do get settled up at the start of this dive, can we drop a waypoint, please, just for to mark the start of the dive?
Yes, my records show that will be MCR 31.
That's very good. That's what our records show as well.
Okay. Should it be where we hit the bottom? I can change this one's name.
I think when we come down now to get bottom in sight properly, then we'll do that.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so I think any time now would be great, Clark. Carl, please. So we are we've arrived at the seafloor to start the dive. We're just checking out our vertical thrusters on the ROV for their functioning before we do anything else and get into the rocky terrain. So we're on soft biogenic carbonate. We're at a depth of 3461 meters. The vehicle is currently heading on a 263 degrees. So that's facing almost due west. Our general trend is going to be north and upslope today. But right now we actually have on our sonar on Little Herc, we can see that we have some rocks directly ahead. So once we've set everything up and the pilot team are ready to go, that's where we're going to be heading off very shortly. In the meantime, we have this mottled biogenic carbonate to look at. And some quite large white clasts, must be shelly fragments presumably, but
That's correct.
And
Starting now.
Thank you.
That's great, thank
pilot,
you.
could we have the lasers on, please? And I think our guys would like to take a nice close look at these first set of rocks, please.
The ship is moving 25 meters, bearing 270.
So we come up against some outcrop, or at least some rock. It's probably premature to claim whether it's boulder or outcrop, but we do have a bright target on the sonar. We are currently heading 175 degrees, so we're facing south at this point at a depth of 3458 meters. Just going to spin out and around and come back to give a nice. Here comes our first rock of the day. And just above the sponge might be where we can actually get a clear view of the rock and get some idea of what we're looking at as well. A nice sharp face. And which way is the current going? So, okay, so we're facing west. We have a current going to the north, pushing us off to the right. For actually looking at the rock textures, I'm ready to receive some input from Rhode Island of any particular face you can drive us. If you can see the laser points, you can give me instructions of where you'd like to actually look any particular rock on this outcrop, if you want to look at textures on the rock face.
Go left, pan left.
Okay, pilot, can we pan left in this current, please? Okay, hold there a moment, please. Okay, Bobby. Further instructions? Do we need to go further left?
And then continue up.
Upslope?
Correct.
Okay, can we continue upslope from there, please? And a question for the guys back on the ECC. With features like this, do you want to stop and look at individual rocks, or are you happy just to locate where they are?
Bridge nav.
Yes, we finish our move.
Go straight.
Thank you, bridge.
Thank you.
Continue straight, please, pilot.
Still just look at the rocks, try and note where they are, and occasionally we'll stop to look at them. There were slicks on those first outcrops that we saw, which is very exciting for us boring geologists.
Very good, Bobby. Yeah, that's great. If you can actually make the observations on the fly when we're going this fast, we'll cover a lot of ground. But don't hesitate to ask for waypoints if you want us to drop them. And for those
No worries.
And for those listening along, slicken sides are basically, and somebody can correct me, basically textures that you see in the rocks which show a sign of flow. So the rocks have actually been sheared laterally past one another. So it's not something you'd actually see in a fresh eruptive lava so much as something that's been metamorphosed. Basically, things have happened to the rocks after they've cooled and become solid.
Zoom on the upper surface here.
Can you say again, please, Bobby?
Zoom just on the upper surface with the sediment, but with the little rock bits peeking out.
Can we zoom there, please, pilot? We would like the upper surface of the sediment, I believe, just above where the lasers are right now, but I'll await instruction from the beach.
Of the lasers and to the right.
Above the lasers and to the right, please. Pilot, perhaps we can position the lasers first and then we'll do the zoom. Okay, Bobby, if you can keep driving us with the lasers, tell us where you've got the lasers in the right place and then we'll do the zoom. Is it the rock we want to look at?
Up a tiny bit.
Okay, keep continuing up a little. I think it might be that rock to the right of the lasers. I'm not sure.
Yes, just above the lasers right now. Zoom.
Okay, that rock just above the laser, the right-hand laser point just now, please.
You. Pull back now.
We're still positioning at the moment, Bobby. Okay, I'm afraid because we have the ship moving, we're going to about to get pulled off from this, so we can't stay any longer there.
Let's just try and continue up from here.
Okay, thank you, pilot. The guys on the beach are happy for us to continue up slope from here. Thank you for that, though.
Direction are we facing right now?
We are on we're on a heading of 005 degrees. So almost due north, depth 3456.
CH is probably starting to settle out here. Yeah, the ship is done.
The camera angle right now?
I will check. Pilot, do we have an angle for the inclination of the camera right now, please?
Now 32 degrees from horizontal.
Okay, camera is currently pointed down 32 degrees from horizontal. So some very large slabs of rock coming into position now. Some corals on there. Very large fracture. That looks like two halves of the same piece of rock have been split apart there, right under the lasers now. The big fissure through there. And as we come to the top, it's pretty obvious. I was wondering if it's outcrop, but that suddenly looks a bit more like a boulder again. Very large boulder though. Watch leader to nav. That first move we made was to the west, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We moved towards the rocks to the west. The ship is now stopped. Sirius should be about settled out. So if we'd like, we can just keep surveying in here on those.
Heading 005.
Heading now has switched through to 022 degrees. And depth is 3453. We made a slight dogleg to the west to the start of this survey, but what I'm planning to do now is have the ship move off to the north, or request the ship move to the north, so we can start heading up along our survey line. Looks like this is a fairly promising place in terms of rocks that we're going to see as we head upslope.
Great, thank you.
So we have the vehicle pointing due north now. Watch leader to nav. If we could request a ship move to start ourselves moving slowly uphill, please. That would be a ship move to the north. So we're moving forward now. We are on a heading of 310 degrees. We're just getting ready to move the ship off. Have large amounts of tailless directly ahead of us. Slightly darker sediment apparently right in front of us, but that may be an artifact of lighting, that the reddy colours attenuate so the more distant sediment looks paler. Go ahead, co-pilot.
Sonar targets up at the top of this hill. Little Hercules continue up.
And that is on a heading which direction?
Current heading.
So 290.
Yeah.
Yep, very good. Let's aim over. Can we aim over? Can we reach those with Little Herc without deviating the ship and Sirius, or do we need to take everything over there?
It would require a ship move.
Very good. I'll request that from Nav now. So Nav, could you move us towards those targets? It looks like they're about 30, 40 meters away.
30 meters, 200.
Yeah, maybe if you want to get Little Herc to point straight towards the sonar target, then that will give you the correct heading.
30 meters, bearing 315. Okay, you want to go about 25 meters so Sirius is looking at them, and Little Herc can explore them? That's good. Okay.
So everybody listening along at home, on our sonar targets, we've worked out we've actually see some more bright targets in the distance ahead of us. They're on a bearing of around, well, generally north and west from here.
Bridge, this is Arvina.
So we're just going to nudge the ship a little bit further west as well as north, because we couldn't actually reach them with Little
Yes,
Herc
go
on its
ahead.
tether unless we
Could I
take
request a ship
Sirius and the
move?
ship over that direction as well.
All right.
25 meters, bearing 200 at 0.2 knots.
25 meters, 020.
The vehicle heading right now is
200.
306
200.
degrees and a depth of 3452 meters.
At 0.2 knots.
Yes,
25 meters, bearing 200 at 0.2 knots.
yes,
Starting now.
thank you.
Matt, what was that? 200? What was that number for? The bearing? And we want to head
Wasn't it?
315.
I was going to say it was more like 300 if anything, surely.
Bridge, this is Arvina.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, could I actually make that heading 315?
Bearing 315, 25 meters at 0.2 knots.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right. Yeah, no
Confusion.
problem. Starting now.
Thank you, co-pilot.
So we're now moving the ship northwest along a heading 315 degrees at 0.2 of a knot in pursuit of the next set of sonar targets uphill from here. The vehicle heading currently is 198 degrees, so southwest. The direction the ship's going to be moving is basically at 90 degrees to this off to our right. We are at a vehicle depth of 3453 meters.
The relative bearing. Yeah. Yeah, so there it is, 200. Yep. Even so, the sonars don't take into account their vehicle headings. They don't have the compass function. Because we have two sonars side by side, we can't handle that.
What a splendid anemone.
Okeanos, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
hadn't heard anything, thought maybe you disappeared.
Nope, just talking to the National Geographic cameraman. I'll be back. Shout out if you need anything.
Arobina Bridge.
Bridge nav.
Yes, 9 meters to go. 9 meters.
Thank you, Bridge.
Right.
I think that was a Serianthid anemone. If you look very carefully, you have the very, very long outside tentacles, and round the mouth there's a row of smaller tentacles. That's sort of very indicative of Serianthid anemones. The thing that surprises me slightly is they're normally found in tubes in the sediment, but this one might just be attached to rock.
And time now is 16:24 UTC. The vehicle is at 3453 meters water depth, and the vehicle for orientation is just spinning through a heading of 300 degrees, heading back towards facing due north. So coming through 350, and there we are facing due north right now, looking at the rocks that are dead ahead.
Arobina Bridge.
Bridge nav.
Yes, we finished. We finished our move.
Thank you, Bridge.
Right.
So,
The laser's on.
go ahead, Bobby.
Laser's on.
Let me. Yep, sorry, the pilots had turned the lasers off while they were doing some video of some of the biology, I think, just then while I was otherwise distracted. Lasers back on now. Should be in the center of your screen. The vehicle is now at a depth of 3450, heading 305.
Chris, I'm not sure the chat room's responding at the moment.
Can Rhode Island, somebody in Rhode Island test the chat room? It looks like it's flowing quickly, or it's okay?
We're fine.
Okay. So we have some more bright sonar targets that the pilots have identified on a heading of 320. That's exactly the direction the vehicle is heading right now. 320 dead ahead, and water depth 3448. We're hoping it's quite a sharp, flat face. Should be a range of 6 meters out. And it's still hard to tell as you're approaching an uphill whether this stuff is actually an outcrop or whether it's boulders. I guess I see shadow to the left behind this large face of rock, which suggests it's sitting on top of the sediment.
That's correct. It's probably very large boulders.
Should we keep moving uphill, Bobby?
Doing great.
Okay, front row, the guys ashore are very happy with how this is working with using you guys picking out the sonar targets and driving us towards them. And if we can carry on this mode today, this will be a very successful way of doing business.
Guys, collect a piece of this, please.
Co-pilot, it looks like you're at about the same level as the overhead now.
Can you repeat, please, Bobby?
We were asking you to collect a piece.
Collect a piece of the rock. Well, the only way we can do that is a thing we really, really don't want to do.
That's why it was a joke. Oh, look at that. That is a waypoint, please.
Can we have a waypoint here, please? Waypoint, please, Nav. This should be MCR
Swimming
032.
holothurian.
Keep the biology to the typing at the moment. The geologist's getting excited.
Can we go around this little pinnacle at all?
Pilot, can we actually traverse around this pinnacle and have a look at it from different directions, please?
Currently facing west, is that correct?
We are currently facing southwest 240 degrees. We're on heading of 240, depth 3440. We are just going to settle up as best we're able with we were undergoing a ship move at the time. So I think Sirius is going to reposition and then give us the best chance to go back and look at this in some detail with Little Herc. I saw some very clear sort of flat-lying structures sloping downhill as we came up over that, Bobby. Is that correct?
Correct. That's probably a fault surface. It looks like it's in coarse-grained rock that may be layered.
Okay. I'm going to put that in the event log right now.
Very good news.
So just to recap what we saw there at the very top of that pinnacle as we came over the top, we could see rocks there that were had very obvious layering to them. There was a very flat, smooth surface. And the most exciting possible news is that that's a possible fault surface we were looking at there. And so, Bobby, if I understand right, it would be the top of the rock. Those is a particular place we'd like to look at. And then what
flabby stuff on the face.
Okay, so we have lasers on right now. If there's a particular feature you want to drive us to, or as soon as you see it, you let me know and I'll let the pilot know.
Let's go dead ahead.
Okay, if we can go dead
Couple of
ahead, please,
meters.
pilot. About 2 meters.
Okay, now if we can slowly look at these features that are right to the left of the lasers right
Okay,
now.
just to the left of the lasers there, that face. If we can just drop down and have a look at that in some detail, please. So, keep going left and then down. There's stuff just at the bottom of the screen now.
That entire surface to the left of the lasers is fine.
Okay, I think just there, please. Is that good, Bobby? Those rocks just there? Just a little up from the lasers, I think, that dark rock. The top...
To the left of the
Yeah.
lasers right now.
Okay, the top left half of that view is probably the part we want. That's good, thank you, pilot. Is that good for you, Bobby?
Look around here, slowly.
And if we can just pan around very gently to look at the
To
changing
the
the rocks.
left.
To the left, if possible, please. Is that all good? Back on base? The heading
Just
now is
looking.
191 and depth 3443. And Bobby, would you like to follow either down or up along this rock? Or are you ready to move along?
Up, please.
Okay, pilot, if we could follow this rock face upwards slowly, please. Just, you know, on shore, the ship's still moving, so tether is probably going to pull us off soon.
This is quite good here. A tiny bit to the left and up.
Okay, if we could pan a little to the left, pilot, as we come up. I guess that big face off to the left half of the screen right now.
Both. This is very good right here.
That's perfect, thank you. Go ahead,
Then
co-pilot.
just go up slowly.
Yes, please. We'd like to continue up this hill slowly, please.
Angle is still 30 degrees down.
Say again, please, Bobby.
Is the camera tilt still 30 degrees down?
I will check that. Can I confirm the angle of tilt of the camera, please? Okay, still 30 degrees down, correct.
To the left,
Very
please.
good, thank you. Can we pan a little to the left, please, pilot? We can see very clear layering now from top right to bottom left, directly ahead, just above the lasers. Maybe we can go into that dark face just to the left of the holothurian, please, pilot. Oh.
Beautiful.
Okay, we're just gonna do a very small ship move just to try and get a good look at this top surface, Bobby.
Thank you. Chris, once we're done, then if we could, we're doing it anyway, never mind.
Okay. And just so you know, the current heading is 258 degrees of Little Herc on a depth of 3441. So that was the heading along the top of that surface.
Rich, this is RV now.
Go ahead.
Hey, could I call in a ship move?
Sure.
20 meters, bearing 340 degrees.
It really does look like a fault surface, and we're very happy here, believe it or not.
It's not often you get to see flat surfaces like that in nature, right? And certainly not at 3,500 meters deep.
On land you can, but at sea it's very, very rare, so this is exceptional.
Very good. World War III positioning the ship for. So here we are now. This is heading 227 degrees. Looks pretty much a long strike. So 223 degrees and depth 3442.
It really is quite a steep slope. That must be all of 45 degrees, isn't it?
Is there any way to eventually pan the camera up the horizontal so we can get a true idea of the dip?
Talk me through that in more detail, Bobby, of what you'd be looking for. To lateral across from left to right as we're looking now, or?
Simply, as we are now, just bring the camera up the horizontal.
Oh, got it. Okay, sure. Pilot, while we're sitting here, can we just pan the camera up through from 30 degrees below horizontal up to straight out horizontal ahead of us, please? That will allow the geologist to get an accurate representation from the imagery of what the steepness of that slope is. And if
Horizontal right there, watch lead, and I have about 3 degrees flare to the left right now.
very good. Okay, so we have the camera horizontal. The vehicle has a 3-degree roll to left. We are heading 225 degrees and we're at a depth of 3442 meters. And I think with that we should be able to constrain the geometry of this just about right. Let me just document that in the
Very much.
3442 meters.
We come around and now just shoot a picture of the face of that surface.
Yep, okay, I'll pass that along. Pilot, this is watch lead, do you copy? Okay, the next thing the guys would like to do is basically come out round to our left, so we're facing straight into this flat surface. So I guess that would put you on a heading of 320. So it'd be like rotate 90 degrees to the right. So we'd be facing straight at that flat surface, please. So that's it. We've looked right along this flat surface. You can see dropping away to the left. You can see very clear layering in the rocks that are exposed there, and in fact the parts of the rock that are sloping downhill to the right, you can actually see the layers in there. Perhaps best of all, the slope round to the left has basically been a flat surface in the past. That's the part that the geologists back ashore particularly excited about. They're basically looking at a flat fault surface, the kinds of things that are relatively easy to study if you're a geologist who works on land, but much, much harder, obviously, to work on when you're a couple of miles underwater like we are right now. And what we're going to do now is
Go ahead and go back in.
swing the ROV around so that we can actually look at the flat surface face on as well. I suspect the kinds of things we'll be looking for there will be actually looking for the textures on the rock surface where we can actually see where one block has slid past another and has left marks on the telltale marks on the surface.
Absolutely. Good job, Chris, as a chemist.
Well, one of my spare degrees is in geology.
Hi, everybody.
In a place where you used to teach, Bobby, so I guess you get the kudos for that as well.
Heard.
Bridge, this is RVNF.
Yeah, we're all stopped.
I'll stop. Alright, the ship has stopped. Sirius will continue swaying for a while.
And while we're
So from what I understand, we're going to try to get a look at this face on the left-hand side here.
Correct.
So I'm going to...
repositioning, Bobby, I'm going to be talking to the pilot a lot. Perhaps you'd like to give the chance to tell people what the kind of things that we're looking for. And I believe slick and sides is one of the phrases you used earlier. Perhaps you could explain to the non-geologists what kinds of things we're looking for and what some of the terminologies might be that you guys use.
Maybe a little more.
So as we swing around to look at the face of the surface, we're trying to understand if this is in fact a fault, how the fault actually moved. So if you were to remember, I guess maybe most of you are too young, but if you scrape your fingers on a chalkboard, you sort of leave sort of telltale streaks potentially. And so we're actually looking for those streaks that will indicate the motion that the different sides of the fault actually took relative to one another.
Okay, and so then what we're actually looking for is orientation. And when we're looking at this flat surface, it won't necessarily have been straight down the hill. It may have been tilted off to one angle or another, and that'll tell us the relative motion of the blocks.
Correct, and in fact, if this is a fault associated with what we call oceanic core complex, we would actually anticipate that the streaks would be horizontal rather than down the slope.
Wow, okay. Even I can tell the difference in horizontal and vertical.
Spots at the bottom here, kind of. Okay.
There.
Right about that. That's nice horizontal flying. Angle.
I guess the other thing that's quite interesting here is that with the overview of Sirius, you can get a much better idea of the perspective of where these rocks are sitting in the larger context as well.
So that you don't get confused, Sirius is sliding toward you. Okay.
Quite, in some cases, there have been quite spectacular things in back of some of the rubble, big, nice, slabby surfaces.
And incorrect. Bobby, we're just heading over
Correct.
to the... Yep. Yep, we have that confirmed.
This face right there?
Yep, straight ahead there, please. And then when we get there, we may want to turn a little to the left just so we're facing straight into the rock face.
Copy that, watch me.
What the geologists are looking for are first scratch marks on the surface, which will tell us which way the fault blocks moved one over the other. So I'm anticipating what we'd actually like to do when we get in is zoom and maybe raster up and down or left and right as best we're able.
That's correct, if possible.
As we're approaching this, I mean, it looks like there's some kind of fabric that's going bottom right to top left. Or maybe there's one particular crack that's maybe aliasing that, but... Well, let's wait till we get there.
There's a crack.
Yeah. Well, let's wait till we get there and let the professionals tell us what we're looking at.
Drifting with the car a little bit here.
And
Semi-neutral position.
Bobby, is this close enough or do we need to zoom in?
Would you like me to get a little closer?
I think this is fine. Unfortunately, there's an awful lot of manganese coating on this stuff, and I don't see anything very systematic.
Hold there a moment, pilot. The geologist is just looking at the field of view they've got here right now to see if they want to zoom in on anything. So Bobby, we just have the pilot holding the position at the moment with the current. If there's anything you want to pick out, let us know. Or if you're ready for us to move on as well, that's good too.
Thank you very much. That's a great shot, but we should move on.
Okay, pilot. No need to fight the currents. The geologists have seen everything they want to see and they're ready to move on. So we're now on a heading of 267 degrees, water depth 3443 meters. We have another rock target dead ahead, so we're progressing and heading off in that direction. And the good news for the geologists, there seems to be no shortage of bright targets on our sonar. Mike's worst fears that we'd been looking at sediment all day can be retired.
If possible, can we look at that sort of pale blue oval structure?
Is that in the bottom of the field of view?
Affirmative.
Can we, pilot, can we zoom on the blue oval featured right in the center bottom of the image right now?
Sure, let me try to get a little stable here. Come down just a little bit.
That's it, just southwest of the lasers now. That's the one.
Okay, I'm in midwater, so it's going to be a little difficult to hold this, but we can go for
Understood.
a little bit of a zoom here. Thank you, video.
So this creature, we're looking at it, we're at a depth of 3443 meters on the ROV. Heading is 270 degrees.
Sorry, I'm kind of gripping on the crank. Can I go wide a little bit? Let me try to
And
stay wide.
video, can you confirm the tilt angle on the camera when we did that?
Tilt angle is 18. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Come down.
Current tilt angle on the camera is 18 degrees below horizontal.
Copy that. Man, oh man. The best bet may be to turn left kind of hard. Right, and then come back towards me and then turn right.
And Paul,
Current's pushing me to the right a little bit.
I think the blue-like structure that we were just looking at, I think might be an octacneumid Ascidian.
okay.
These
Did
are...
you see that well enough, Paul? Can we move on with the vehicle?
Yeah, you can move on now, yeah.
Okay, very good.
These are predatory Ascidians.
Pilot, we're happy with that.
Most Ascidians
carry on
are
moving.
filter feeders, but these are actually predatory on particles, particularly copepods and things like that in the water column. I think that's what it is anyway. It's a translucent. I think you can just about see the gut in it.
Would you like to continue up these rocks?
If we can just continue to move up, that's fine for us.
Okay. It's gonna be easier to
Say again, please, Bobby.
Up, you said, or right?
Just continue to move up.
Yep, very good. Okay, pilot, we're ready to continue. Uphill, please.
Copy that.
So we are now on a heading of 303 degrees, depth 3441 meters. The guys ashore, do you have any inclination of what the rock type might be that we're looking at here? I mean, I know it's dark and I know it's foliated, but
It's possible that we're actually looking at mixed rock types here. This very fine sort of angular fragmented stuff, it's very foliated, but it's possible, it doesn't look very coarse-grained. Doesn't help you much except to say that it could be highly deformed gabbroic rock or peridotite.
no, but I think it's the that's the nature of geological observations, right? You describe what you see, and you don't necessarily have to try and leap to conclusions. Just knowing that those things allows us to eliminate at least some things. There's another flat surface right here, so we are now on a heading of 314 degrees, with the rocks we're looking at just there on the left of the lasers. Again, we see very flat surfaces like we were seeing at the last time we stopped at. And that water
Yes,
depth
those
there
are
is-
excellent foliated rock.
Yep. Okay, time to start looking for the next sonar targets. Well, I'm sure at least somebody's going to want to zoom in on that little pretty thing on the sediment.
Want to lead co-pilot?
Go ahead, co-pilot.
We don't have any significant targets on sonar at the moment, so you are free to travel in any direction that you like.
Very good, co-pilot. It looks like if there's anything at all, it's to the north of us, and that's basically the right direction to go all day. So when in doubt, let's head north until we see sonar targets again.
Roger that.
Going.
So here we are on top of a little local high. You can see the angular rock fragments that we've been looking at previously sticking out from a pretty well sedimented, rounded top of this local mound. We are at a depth of 3436 meters here, heading 323 degrees, and we are going to head off probably a little bit. What's that tall cylindrical looking thing at the top of the hill there just above the lasers? Is that going to be a sponge or something?
Looks like it.
Our angle now again.
The video, is the angle down 18 degrees still?
Yeah, there's no sonar targets out there. Yeah, I agree. I'll wait till they want to.
Apparently the angle down is 42 degrees from the horizontal.
See if they find anything else here.
2 degrees down from horizontal.
22.
Sorry, miscommunication there. Angle down is 22 degrees from the horizontal. Heading is 245 degrees, water depth 3436 meters. Navigator, our general trend for today is going to be to keep heading due north when in doubt. And as and when we see sonar targets, we'll stop and chase them. But otherwise, we'll just keep progressing north uphill and see how much ground we can cover.
Okay, watch it. It seems like I see that our waypoint is bearing 345 degrees. Would you like a ship move towards it?
Yep, that sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, pilots, how about a ship move 100 meters, 345 degrees at 0.2 knots? Sounds good. Bridge, this is Arvina.
Go ahead.
Hey, could I get a ship move 100 meters, bearing 345 degrees at 0.2 knots?
Okay, 100
So
meters.
just so
bearing
everybody's on the
345,
same page, as
0.2
joining in
knots.
from the science party,
Starting it now.
we're going to be moving at
Correct,
0.2
thank you.
knots. We're traveling at about, going to be making the next move is 100 meters. So this is going to be the same kind of discipline as our survey dives 1 and 2, or the first 2 dives we had there. Actually dives 1 and 3 technically. So make your observations as fast as you can. We can drop waypoints if there are things you're particularly excited about. But it won't always be feasible to stop the ship, stop Sirius, and look at these things.
With us, just keep moving on. We're making observations as quickly as we can.
Very good. Lead nav. Watch lead nav, do you copy?
Yeah, we can go for a partial zoom video.
Watch lead nav.
Watch it, this is co-pilot. They're on the ship change right now, but I might be able to help you.
I was just interested in range and bearing from our starting point and how far we've traveled so far.
Nav bridge.
Bridge nav?
Yeah, the watch lead's calling you.
Yes, watch it.
Is that nav? Could I get a range and bearing nav from where we are now to where we started our first waypoint, please?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I was transferring over to a new nav and missed your call.
No problem.
Go for a little more zoom video. So you want it from MCR 31?
That would be perfect, yes.
Okay. So from 31 to us is 86 meters bearing 323 degrees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chris,
just
just
give
to let you
everybody.
know,
Go ahead.
having both images, the Sirius image as well as the little Hercules image, really helps us in with the context. So this is really very, very nice for us.
Excellent. Yeah, it is really quite something unique about this package is to actually have the image of the ROV as well as the images that the ROV is collecting. It's a whole new way of doing business on the seafloor. So, just so everybody knows, thus far we've traversed 86 meters away from our first waypoint. We've basically been heading along a heading of 323 degrees overall, so north and west upslope. We are now at 34, 35 meters, so we've come up about 15 or 20 meters and about 80 meters over the ground. So still plenty more to see as the dive progresses. And the ship has begun a 100-meter move upslope, and Sirius and Little Herc will be moving off shortly in the same direction.
I'm looking at it 60 degrees here, so you're actually just swinging out of the sweet spot.
So we are now driving forward on a heading of 355 degrees. The vehicle is at 3435 meters water depth. Have rocks to our left and a steep slope full of mostly sedimented to the right.
Just assorted boulders coming up your bum.
We have more rocks on our sonar ahead of us, about 25 meters out.
Looks like you might have a big hole just a little bit to the left. May just be a shadow, but
Build on that setup.
And then
could be a big rock.
so we've spun around now. We're on a heading of 270 degrees. So basically looking due west along the face of the slope. And then we're just panning back around now with the depth is 3432 meters. Swing back round through 315 degrees for northwest. So you can see it's quite chaotic on the local scale. There's a lot of ups and downs here. And the view from Sirius can show you where there's these large boulders falling down the slope. Clearly when they come to rest, they can actually have local topographic highs that go up and down over at the outcrop scale, really rough terrain. I did tell the guys to make sure they had the big tires on the ROV this morning before we came down here because we would be off-roading all day, and so it's proved. So
Image from Sirius is actually looking, I guess, towards the west, east, and it seems as if we may be looking at a very broad-scale corrugation.
Oh, okay. Sirius is
Actually,
looking.
we've changed.
Sirius is heading due north at the moment. 355 degrees is the view from Sirius. And
Now, okay.
The ROV is just looking to the northeast now, 045 degrees.
Nav, Rich.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
We're 12 meters.
Go ahead and add another 100, please.
Sure. Same heading. 340.
And just so everyone knows,
345.
345, sorry.
continuing. It's a bit of almost an overhang by the look of it, coming up with from the Sirius view. Huge lumps of rock that we're climbing up through, and we're just starting moving the ship another 100 meters along the 345 heading.
And the camera angle at this point?
Say again, please, Bobby.
The camera angle?
I will just check. Video.
Co-pilot, it's 29 degrees down.
Thank you. Angle is 29 degrees down from horizontal.
What were you saying, Josh? I was just asking if actually my camera angle.
Thank you.
One of the things that's interesting about the Mid-Cayman Rise is that although it's a mid-ocean ridge, and most mid-ocean ridges we think of as volcanically active places where magma wells up from inside the earth and pushes plates apart. What actually happens is we found out that on the world's slower spreading ridges, which are actually about half of all the ridges, so about 30,000 kilometers of mountain chain, about half of those, actually the way they extend is not through magmatism and volcanism at the seafloor, but through very deep penetrating faults which actually slide one part of the tectonic plate, or in fact one tectonic plate, slides separately from the other along these very low angle but long lasting faults that penetrate deep down beneath the seabed. And so that's really one of the hypotheses we had about the Mount Dent area is that's exactly what we're diving on today. And so that's what we're trying to do is find where we can find rocks in outcrop and look for these textures, looking for the nature of the rocks, that instead of being homogeneous in 3 dimensions, that they actually will show directions in their fabrics of the way the minerals are aligned, which is actually indicative of the rocks actually sliding laterally past one another, rather than just welling up chaotically as they might do in a magmatic system where they should be exactly they'd have no preferred orientation in 3-dimensional space. They would just be a random collection of crystals. Instead, what we're actually finding in these rocks is very strong evidence of these foliations. We're seeing layering, we're seeing textures on the surfaces of the rocks where they're broken open as well. So it's a very fascinating part of geology. It's a relatively young sport within the study of mid-ocean ridges, probably because most of the early studies of mid-ocean ridges rushed towards where the fastest moving ridges were and where the most volcanic activity was. And it turns out there's a whole bunch of fascinating science to be done on the slow spreading ridges as well. And the great thing about the Mid-Cayman Rise is you get to go to the Caribbean to study them as well, which is always good fun.
Spectacular surface in the Sirius image.
Would you like to spend some time here, Bobby, with Little Herc as well to image it better?
I think we should just move up very, very slowly, just along this upper surface that we're just coming to. It very much looks like a fault surface.
So along the sedimented flat surface, directly above, if we're looking at the Sirius view?
Just directly directly in the headlights and slightly to the left.
Very good. I'll just direct the pilot. Pilot, when we go from here, what we'd like to do is go ahead and slightly to the left. I think that flat view, the top left quadrant of the image right now, is the fault surface we'd like to look at. I'll stand by and I'll await instructions from the beach if we want to go differently. So Bobby, if you want to drive me with the lasers, I think I'm on the right surface just there, but if it's up and off to the right of the Little Herc headlights, I can do that too.
Let's just continue here and maybe slightly to the right of the current lasers.
Okay, pilot, if we could just pan a little to the right of where the lasers are right now and get that centered up, maybe that straight up and down line of rocks, a bit further right again. That looks good to me. So Bobby, if we could just push straight ahead from there, is that good? Or did you want to zoom in?
Let's just go.
Okay, we are now on a heading of 359 degrees. We just head straight forward and up, please, pilot.
I really like these
We're heading to
dives.
move on and just head forward and up, please.
I really like these dives where geology and biology is combined. This is really spectacular.
Okay, it looks like this is all sediment. So, in the sonar, but we have something on Sirius coming just ahead of us.
Very good. Yeah, pilot, I think you've already seen that big block in Sirius. Let's go take a look at that.
Which direction on that block you said, Archie?
Straight towards it is good.
That'll get to the rocks are cool.
If you see bare rock on one side rather than the other, that's always going to be the default option for today, is to try and head towards the darkest parts you can see.
Slightly to the left.
Yep, I think the left face is probably our preferred choice. So we're now on a heading of 353 degrees, depth 3417 meters.
These look like giant blocks in snow.
Yes. A winter wonderland.
Reminds me of Wyoming.
In the summer.
Well, at least Midsummer Day.
There you go. Before the pass is open. Well, here we go. Geology and biology in action again. Yeah, that's interesting. So while the geologists are looking at the rocks, I wonder if any of the biologists have any thoughts of what those little pimples are in the sediment we can see directly on the top of the mound. Are those some kind of bioturbation, some kind of burrowing? Any ideas of what would cause that? The view is by Sirius view, what I mean is the panel that you can see from Sirius looking down on Little Herc right now on that video feed. What we can see Sirius headlights, and then directly above that, we're looking at animals again on in this Little Herc view as well. But just up on top of the sediment here, we can see this doming. And then Little Herc itself, we're going to drop down and actually look at the rock face. Yeah, if we can drop down and maybe pan around to our right to look at the rocks a little more clearly. Very good. I don't know if we have time to do a quick little zoom in on that. And angle on the camera, please, when you get a chance.
That's actually reporting that Little Herc is above Sirius. The deeper we get, the more the depth sensors diverge.
Vehicle now is 3416 meters, heading 074 degrees, and camera angle to be confirmed.
The delta sensor reading is off today. I think the depth sensors are not ready. Actually, camera angle is still 29 degrees down.
Very good. Camera angle 29 down. Yep, very good, thank you. We're ready to continue uphill.
New course. 000. Clear target line. Last I heard, now the plan was to be at 50 meters at 6. Watch the lead. Subject to revision.
So we are moving up slope. The heading is on Little Herc is 019 degrees, depth of 3411 meters. On our sonar, we have something out a little off to the right of Little Herc at a range of between 25 and 40 meters.
Please add 100 more.
Sure.
Just continue
Head
in.
that way if we can.
Say again, please, Bobby.
Let's head towards that sort of hard sonar return.
Yep, we're heading that way right now. Moving over the ground quite swiftly. Water depth of 3409 degrees, heading 351.
Still looking straight down at it. Watch the map. You see where I'm looking? There's
Go ahead, Nav.
looks like a ridge here behind the lead. So best thing you can do in direction we are. Fine as fast as doing good.
We can see in the Sirius camera looking down on Little Herc, we're actually driving along the top of a sediment-covered ridge. Looks like there's little drop-offs to either side of the sediment with the rocks.
We could go on either side of the ridge. That would help us.
Very good. Pilot, is there any chance we can actually, when we look in
RV
Sirius,
nav
we can see
bridge.
there are rocks exposed on either side of this sediment
Yeah,
ridge? Can we
we're
drop
getting
down
high
to
temperature alarm on the
one side or the other?
hydraulic well. So I'm going to come to a stop right now.
Whichever one
Pull
works
it
well
back
with
up
Sirius,
and then
I would
start
guess,
back
to
up.
light it. Right looks
Okay.
good right now. Very good. So we're just dropping down now. We're going along a sedimented high. There's sediment along the smooth top of this ridge, but we can see rocks just in the first maybe 5 meters dropping down below that being exposed. So that's what we've just done with Little Herc, as we've dropped down so we can actually look at the rocks themselves that are being exposed as we progress uphill. The ROV is now currently on a heading of 355 degrees, which is actually pretty much the same heading as, actually sorry, 335 degrees, and Sirius is heading 355 degrees.
Have a waypoint here, please.
Very good. Nav, could we drop a waypoint here, please? Confirm, this is MCR 033 is the waypoint. Vehicle heading here is 342 degrees. Water depth 3403.
And if we can just keep sort of skirting along this, going uphill.
Very good. So pilot, what we'd like to do if we can is kind of crab along looking at these as we progress. We can see in Sirius going due north. The more we can keep these rocks in sight, the better.
RV nav, Rich.
Good.
Okay, the back thrust is retracted and starting to move back up.
Understand this is not ideal,
2 knots.
Thanks.
Sure.
but you guys are doing a great job.
Very good, Bobby.
Little Herc's water depth right now?
Little Herc is currently 3399 meters, heading 348 degrees. Sirius is on a heading of 012 degrees. And our general heading with the ship is 345.
Thank you.
Bobby in Rhode Island.
Chris. Yes, Chris?
Go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry, Chris, I thought you were asking me a question.
No, just so you know, I'm just putting it in the chat room. We actually have a new orientation data feed available in a chat room. So like we have the one called Event Log that we're in right now, you can open a separate window and join a separate one in parallel, which is just called real-time data. And that should be able to give us a lot of our orientation information.
Can you pan up and left?
Yep. Pilot, can we pan up and left here, please? Thank you. Say when, Bobby. Heading now 292 degrees, water depth 3396. That looks good, I believe. I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
Okay, thank you. Carry on.
Thank you, pilot. We're ready to continue. So we're proceeding forwards now, heading 355 degrees with Little Herc. Water depth 3394. So we're continuing up this just a few meters down from the spine of a sediment-covered ridge, with the rocks exposed down here beneath the highest point of the ridge. The vehicle's heading on 350 degrees, and our sonar shows something that's basically heading off to our right, which is pretty much what you can see in Sirius as well. We're just moving up the cliff face. And I think what we're going to have to do now is, because we're going due north, we're probably going to have to come up off the top of this ridge, I think, just to do a little bit of catch up with the ship and the ROV and Sirius altogether.
Okay, we'll stand by.
Very good. We're basically thrusting up full speed just now. Okay, so we're coming up onto the top of that rock now, and actually we can see a lot more bare rock in the Sirius view, looking down on the top of Little Herc. So along the top of this spine now, it was sediment draped previously. We see a lot more rock exposure, and it's probably more like 80% rock ahead and 20% sediment, as opposed to the 100% sediment cover we were trying to avoid by dropping down the side of the ridge just now.
Could we possibly go to the left? About 4 meters?
2 meters, Bobby? Very good. Could we just nudge a little over about
4?
2 meters? A few meters over to the left, please. Thank you. And then probably swing to the right and drive up along the top of these rocks. On a heading of 300 at this point. Spin around through 310. A little further right, please, pilot. That looks good. So we're now on a heading of 018 degrees. Sirius is on a heading of 020.
Hey, could we possibly drop down just to the right side of this little ridge now?
I'm not sure we can. I think the ship might be pulling us off to the left, but I'll just check that. Pilot, could we drop down to the right very quickly before we get in a mess with the ship and everything? Okay, for those watching at home, we're going to do a very quick drive out to the right and back before we run out of time with the way the ship's moving. Yep, so as we're looking now, Sirius is looking down on Little Herc, and Sirius is looking to the northeast, or north-northeast, but the ship is actually moving to the northwest, so off to the left of the direction. In fact, that looks good, I believe. Thank you. Bobby, is that good for what we're looking at just now? And just so everyone's oriented, the way
Can we zoom slightly?
Can we get partial zoom, please? And so everybody at home understands the way the ship's about to take us is straight ahead. So we have to get the vehicles back up over this rock before too long as well. How's that, Bobby, at home?
Yeah, we had a bit of a delay, but things are good.
Can we pan down a little bit with the lasers, please, onto the dark rock Very good. And if we could just look a little to the right.
You're clear. You're not going to drift into anything, so feel free. Copy that.
Pan left, please.
Sorry, pilot, the request from the beach is to pan left, not right.
Oh,
I guessed wrong.
no problem. It was a nice try. It's just as easy going left.
Swing and a miss.
How's that looking?
I believe that's looking good.
We have a little more zoom in us if we need it.
Would you like more zoom, Rhode Island?
Excellent. Yeah.
Any more zoom?
No, zoom out now.
Zoom out now, please.
Zoom out, full wide. Thank you. A little ways away from you. Thank you. Yeah, if you could come up and jump up those rocks now. Copy that.
Okay, coming up and over the top of the rocks now.
Back into your view there. Yep.
No call for extreme close-ups today. So here we are, the vehicle is on a heading of 341 degrees, which is actually the way the ship is heading as well. We're at a water depth of 3380 meters. What we can see on the view from Sirius is that Sirius itself is heading 032 degrees, and we can see this top of this ridge is actually heading off at an angle of 45 degrees off to the top left, which must make that, by my calculations, about 10 degrees west of due north. So basically a north-northwest striking scarp, and that's basically crudely the direction that we're heading for the whole dive, in fact, from south-southeast to north-northwest. Let's drop over the top of that. We're now looking more at sediment cover. We probably have something like 60-70% sediment cover. Heading here 344 degrees with the view from Little Herc at a depth of 3376 meters. More of these angular dark rock fragments, sometimes less than, just in the order of tens of centimeters on a side. This one here is about a 1 meter wide based on the 10 centimeter spacing of the lasers that are just scrolling up it. And plenty of bright targets directly ahead of us.
Yeah, my heading right now is actually at 020. So if you can just keep the heading you're on and drive diagonally across my screen, I'll turn and follow you and we'll be oriented properly.
So you can see now that the Sirius has got out to the left, so it's actually lighting from the side just now. So if you look on the Sirius feed, you can see Little Herc coming in from the bottom right, and the way the ship's going and the way ROV is going to go is from bottom right to top left, which is almost due north right now. Little Herc is facing 359 degrees, heading 359 degrees rather, at a water depth of 3371 meters. So we've come up more than 50 meters vertically now, so far in the day. And Nav, this is watch lead. Could we get a range and bearing to our starting point today, the first marker? Thank you.
Oh, definitely on the ridge. Looking serious, you can see that this ridge continues to extend out for about 50 meters. Kick the sonar out and see how far it goes.
And the strike of this ridge, we're just looking at the sonar on Sirius, we can actually see this extends at least 50 meters directly ahead of us in a north-south direction. So plenty of rocks exposed along the top of it. It's interesting. Am I imagining it?
And the strike of the ridge?
The strike of the ridge is pretty much, I'd say pretty much the same orientation as the Sirius view right now, which is 359 degrees. It's almost exactly south to north from based on the Sirius heading. Now, am I imagining it, or is it that we have rocks exposed on the right-hand side and it's all flat and sedimented on the left?
Nav
So is
bridge.
that, could that be just like a flat fault surface
Go ahead,
heading off
Bridge.
to our left,
Yeah, we
which
have about
is
22 meters
facing
left in the
west, or
Alright, thank
dipping
you.
to the west?
That very well could be, and these rocks are a little bit more foliated than what we were seeing about 2 minutes ago.
Okay.
This would be a
Roger, Nav.
ridge parallel fault, but it's an outward-facing ridge parallel fault.
Okay, if we could get somebody to enter that into the event log as well, that'd be great. Go ahead, Nav.
So although this looks like a sort of a jumble of rocks, we're potentially seeing the cross-cutting relationships between an oceanic detachment fault cut by ridge parallel faults. And so it's a complicated sort of setting, and we see a lot of rubble, but that's one possibility.
Very good. Right, so the orientation of this ridge, if this is, or this tearaway, if that's what we're looking at down this face here, that's running south to north, so that's actually parallel to the actual orientation of the Mid-Cayman Rise spreading center. The general pull apart of the two plates is also north and south, so that's why this would be the tear fault, correct?
Yeah, this is a ridge parallel fault that we can think of many possible explanations for how they formed, but it's later than the actual detachment fault, potentially.
Right, and this is kind of parallel to the orientation of the Rift Valley walls that define a large part of the topography that we see when we get away north and south from Mount Dent.
And this could also be, these types of faults could be what are the locus of the fluid flow on the surface up at the top of Mount Dent and the vents.
Oh, of course, yeah, because if these actually cut through the Mount Dent itself, then these are relatively younger faults that crack down into the you know, right through everything.
Correct.
Uh-huh. It's that easy. Allegedly.
Don't just plan dives for no reason.
Well, this is very cool. I mean, I didn't anticipate that we would actually see an east-dipping fault running north-south as we drove up here, so this is a nice day out in the country.
Leave it to the professionals to plan dives.
You guys really are that good, huh? Can you make me have a black smoker at the top of it as well, please?
We're working on it.
Thank you. I bet that costs extra, huh?
Couple million. Okay, could we swing out a bit and look into the space a bit more?
Yeah, swing out to the right and then back to back to left. Pilot, this is watch lead. Could we swing out to the right, please, and then look in to the left at those rock faces? Thank you. Yeah, so we can see here in Sirius we've come back into almost 100% sediment cover along the top of the rift there. The ridge is still running off from south to north ahead of us. Sirius's heading is on 016 degrees, so what we're just doing is pulling out to the right and then dropping down a little so that we can actually see the rocks that are exposed beneath the top of the ridge. It's actually, this is probably what I understand, I mean I've never done it, but what I understand, mountaineering on an icy or a snow-capped ridge is like in mountains. That basically you get, in that case you get wind swept up along the top, but here we've got sediment accumulated up along the very top of the ridge, and maybe even overhanging a little bit. So if you actually want to get at the bare rock, you actually have to drop down on the far side of the rift. And that's very much what it looks like right now. You can see the aerial view looking down on Sirius, you can see that you can't actually see much rock at all in the Sirius view, just this very soft, very continuous veneer of sediment. And it's only by dropping down to the far side we can actually see the bare rocks exposed. And so they've got this beautiful view of the rocks we're looking at, these foliated rocks which have this fabric that we're looking for to try and understand the fault movement. And And then directly above that, of course, is this soft biogenic sediment, which, if it accumulates at the rate of about a centimetre every 1,000 years, then to have the kind of levels of sediment there that are filled in tells you that we're a long, long way away from where the fresh rock forms at the ridge crest. In distance, we're probably about 10 kilometres, and in time, certainly thousands of years. In fact, from the rock types or the tectonic theory, we probably easily 1,000,000 years old, or 1,000,000 years away from where the freshest volcanic eruptions would have happened due east of us. Bobby, tell us something about that. I mean, the longevity of an oceanic core complex, when these things start moving, they can last, it's more than hundreds of thousands of years, right? It's in the order of millions of years that things can keep moving along the same fault surface. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. These things can apparently move for up to 1 to 2 million years at least, and so there's some mechanism that makes them weak in order to localize the deformation for so long, or localize the slip for so long. And so these are exciting faults because, as Mike Cheadle would say, they're some of the largest faults on Earth, or the largest normal faults on Earth anyway.
Wow. And we can get them on land as well, right? I mean, they were first recognized on land, and it's only very recently we've recognized that the same kinds of processes can happen at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, long, long ago in the 70s and 80s, people started to see these things on land, and originally they were thought to be thrust faults associated with basically duplicating the crust, but then we recognized they were actually related to extension. And then about 15 to 18 years ago, people started to recognize these in the marine sort of setting and realized that they're actually a fundamental part of plate tectonics, how the crust actually moves apart as we form new plates on the Earth.
Very good. That was great. Thanks, pilot.
I was wondering if you could tell me the bearing of our ship.
Mike wants to add that the largest of these sort of oceanic detachment faults that we know of is called Godzilla, and it's in fact larger, more than 2 times larger than the state of Rhode Island in its areal extent.
Wow.
For folks on the east coast of the United States, that's a big deal. For folks on the west coast of the United States, that's small potatoes.
That's just a tiny little bit of Wyoming, right?
That's correct.
Hey, I see a shrimp. Is Diva asleep? Yeah, and there's a shrimp just like halfway between the lasers and the burrow, just hanging out.
I think we've also just passed an Echiuran burrow.
So what's that star-shaped thing next to the hole, to the left of the hole?
Paul, tell us that.
I think it might be an Echiuran burrow. It's a worm-like animal, and it has a long proboscis that bifurcates at the end. And what it does as it's feeding, its proboscis picks up particles on the sediment, and it makes this star shape. That's one idea. It could be, in this case, it could be a small crustacean coming out and just scratching at the sediment.
Pretty cool.
We're just going to see if we can have a quick look at that little burrow as we're moving along. I think it was on the top, but yeah, it's just here. Yep, we're on the safe side of the rocks. Anybody home?
They seem very long spokes for an Echiuran burrow, I have to admit.
Can we pan down, please, pilot, to look at the little scratches behind that? There's a star pattern in the sediment. Understood. No problem.
Hey John, you've got about 30 seconds to land if you get moving.
Okay. Time's up. Time to keep going.
There's
Very good pilot. Keep going.
there's something coming out of the burrow.
We think there's something just coming out the burrow, but 30 seconds is up and we're off.
Sorry about that.
No
Oh,
problem.
all right then.
Off we go.
You can make your head north and come up toward me. That's good.
Okay, we're not sure that this is possible, but would it be possible for Little Herc to sort of slide down this slope to the east and get a view into the slope? Well, not here, but somewhere.
Yep, I think what we can do is, what we need to do right now is Sirius is and Little Herc, or Little Herc's getting behind Sirius in the ship, so we're going to do a little catch up. So we're going to shoot ahead and then we'll try and drop that down. So let's just drive forward. I'll just have a word with the pilot and give him a heads up. That's what we'd like to do. Okay guys, so what we're going to do now is we're going to just pull up, shoot ahead with the ROV and get ourselves ahead of the ship and the Sirius vehicles, and then that'll give us time to actually drop down to the right and actually have some quality time looking at some of the rocks further ahead. Right now we're lagging behind the ship, and so we don't really have that kind of flexibility just yet, so we're going to buy ourselves some breathing time.
No worries, just when it's possible.
Yep, understood. So we're going to go straight up right now, get ourselves some breathing space, and then head along following the sonar trail. Vehicle currently is on a heading of 348 degrees, water depth 3348 meters, 3348.
Still not clear. Careful.
Is this just shell fragment, the white chaff we see on the sediment here? I see biogenic carbonate, bioturbation, the mottling texture, but there's little white fragments, not much bigger than the size of a laser dots on top of that as well.
Very nice, John.
In the view on Sirius right now, Sirius is on a heading of 340, and so that's very much the strike.
Try to spend a little more time looking at the kill sign here as well, John. If you could keep doing that in a northerly direction, that would be good. I think I can do it.
So we now are at the point where we've caught up with things. So we have a ridge in the view from Sirius, which is striking, I guess, still pretty much south to north. Sirius is looking 348 degrees, and the ridge is a little bit off to the left of straight up and down. And so we're just dropping it down with Little Herc is going to head off to the right hand side, and I think just about when we got a chance to get ahead of the game. The pilot, maybe we can just stop there with Little Herc and look into the left with the rocks we have got before we run out. So this seems to be the northernmost limit of this particular section of ridge we've been following for a while. These are the rocks with a view about 1 to 2 meters down from the spine of the ridge. We're looking on a heading of 283 degrees right now. Water depth is 3342 meters.
RV nav bridge.
Go ahead, Bridge.
You have about 30 meters left in this move.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, video. I'm going to check out the sonar for that.
Look at this rock.
Now if we can just traverse up to the top, it's just 1 to 2 meters.
Vertically up, Bobby.
We may want to reevaluate our exact direction after that.
And
Yeah, vertically.
pilot, can we just can we traverse vertically up from here, please? Or maybe just go to the left so we get that big rock, get the lasers on that, and then go straight up to the top of the ridge, please. So here we are on a heading of 242 degrees. So we're basically going orthogonally straight up to the top of this sedimented ridge. And so now we're going to okay, very good, pilot. That's great. I think what we need to do now is take some time just to look around. The ship's just about finished to move. We probably want to look on the sonar, see if there's anything obvious. Otherwise, we'll just ask the ship to move on the same heading we've been on towards our final waypoint.
Best you can do, pilot, is to pop up to the top of the ridge here, and then hold still for a second and see if we can get something on sonar. Copy that, Mr. Pilot. I got something over here.
And I think if we
There's
get
just a tiny little, at about 11 o'clock, about 40 meters ahead.
Yep, we see that. So I think, yeah, Nav, I think you're on the same target I've seen. That's they'd seen on the beach as well. But is that about 35 meters out?
Yeah, 35 meters, 34 meters, something like that. Looks
And
like it's due west of us.
okay, wait one. Let's see if they want to go that way. So, Rhode Island, we actually have a target. It's about 30 or 40 meters off, but it's actually due west. Do you actually want to go west and sideways, or would you rather keep going along our standard heading?
I don't know. Catalina isn't here. Do you hear me now on MPL?
Keep on the standard heading.
Stand by, I'll still listening on hub.
Okay, Nav, I think what our preference would be is actually just have a ship move along
you hear me on
the heading
MPL?
towards the final waypoint.
Yes, I do.
We'll let that target go since it's
Okay,
kind of off track for us.
stand by. The
And we'll
people
just
are
keep
getting
along the
coordinated.
345
I don't know if
direction,
Mike,
please, and we'll keep an eye
if
out for
somebody's
the next
around.
sonar targets.
Okay. Catalina, is she even in the office today?
Thank you.
It's supposed to be around later. Dwight's out there
So
wrangling
here we go.
people.
We're heading off again on our standard 345 setting.
Go ahead.
We had another 100
time
meters that moved
The
345.
time now is
Okay.
18:02 UTC.
Okay.
The vehicle is at a water depth of 3335 meters, and the vehicle itself is driving along a heading of
right now is MPL.
015 degrees. If we look in the Sirius view, you can see we've come back over some more exposed rocks and very large boulders, boulders that are
2, 3,
bigger than a
4,
1 meter by 1
5,
meter.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So you can see if Little Herc is about 1 meter by 2 meters in plan from above, then those boulders are the order of 5 by 10 meters, the one that Little Herc's just passing by the side of right now.
5, 6, 7,
Pilot,
8,
can we just look at that little boulder as we're coming past? When you get a chance.
You can look at it for about 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Where was this target going?
Okay. So what we're, alright.
Left of the lasers there.
So, let's see here.
That's
Going dead ahead, there's some good stuff coming up.
I'm not hearing it.
very good. The default setting today is if you see dark stuff, look at that, not the light sediment.
Okay.
And I may have to rely on you to try and guess, to look at the dark stuff, not the light stuff, if we're having to do this rehearsal the next 30 minutes. I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to be in the game for the scientists.
4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Excellent.
4, 5.
And just so
Nice
you know, go ahead, Bobby.
rocks coming up. Nice slabby foliated rocks coming up right here. These are very good.
All right, let
Beautiful.
me get over there then.
And pilot, I think what they really like to do is look at the surfaces. So that dark rock's just to the left of your lasers now, the left of the picture. What they're looking for are like scratching textures on the surfaces of these rocks or layering in the rocks. So any chance you get to get them close enough to look at those dark things and look at features on the dark rocks, That'll be what keeps them most happy.
All right. All right.
I believe so. Yeah, just to the left there, that relatively flat
Hey, it's
surface
Dwight
just
at the
above the
hub
shadow.
on MPL.
Yeah.
Is that Webb
And
on the
maybe if you can
Okeanos?
get a
Yeah,
zoom in on that.
Hey, Webb.
Here
Yeah, Dwight.
settle.
Is Fred at the Silver Spring console?
Unknown. Unknown. Silver Spring, it's the Okeanos Explorer.
Beautiful, thank you.
Hey, Dwight, when
And
you, can you mute your mic when you're not talking to me? When you're not talking to me,
now
Dwight,
we
you
have the
just cut
vehicle
yourself off.
at 3327 meters.
Okay.
So we're
where are you going?
Pulling up fast vertically with the vehicle. We're at a depth of 3326 meters. Little Herc's on a heading of 038 degrees right now. There's a little burrow there, but we're not going to hang around to look at that either. And just so you got your orientation right now, we're on 036 degrees with Little Herc. Sirius is heading 353 degrees. So Sirius pretty much due north. Little Herc is pointing to the northeast.
We move to the northeast in the Sirius view to those little sort of dark outcrops between the snow.
We'll just check. Co-pilot watch lead, can we just orient the Sirius rotation to northeast? Very good. And the message was clear from Sirius. They are looking after what they're doing with the vehicle right now, so we don't have the option to move Sirius around. ROV is still climbing vertically. It's coming clear of the top of this ridge now.
Little Herc just dead ahead. And then a bit to the right.
We are just going full vertical right now with the ROV just to avoid any problems. So wait one. Co-pilot from watch lead, looks like there's something on the Sirius sonar dead ahead.
Yes, there is 30 meters out.
Good, let's just cover the ground towards that. No, Nav, I was from the start point. I think it was marker 31. Nope, press too many buttons at once, sorry.
It's this little scattery target out here for a little bit, but shoot out there and get to that early because it might be something they're curious about. I'm 25 meters out from it myself. It's probably up there in the dark somewhere.
So on our Sirius sonar, we can see a sonar target about 25 meters out. It's not particularly spectacular, but we figure since we're just on soft sediment here, we'll just head over towards that and try and get the vehicle ahead of the rock to see how we do.
Okay.
Go ahead, Nav.
We are 500 meters, bearing 340 degrees from our setting point.
500 meters, very good. Is that correct?
Also, we have 500 meters up to our targeted midpoint.
So this is exact midpoint, correct?
This is the target. Yeah, it's not much. It's just a small exposed tumble of boulders here.
Okay, pilot, I think those ones off to the left, the furthest ahead. Maybe we can go in under the lasers right there. Slowly, bit round to the right again. Yep, that little block just to the right of the lasers right now.
Are you using, there's a button that said, there's a button specifically for creating RTP multicasts. If you just kind of change the address in that first page, it doesn't work. You actually have to click the button, RTP multicast view.
And Little Herc right now is on a heading of 355 degrees, depth of 3270 meters. Come across a few of these rocks.
Bring him ahead left just to light you up, Jeff. But when we leave, we'll go off to the right slightly.
And maybe the that dark rock that's just to the left of the lasers. Keep going left, left, and then up. Up from there.
Up.
Next rock up. There's a dark one, and you can see all the dark face exposed with no mud on it. Up a little more. Yep.
Speed, please.
Well, that's the one. If we can just get a little closer to that, if it's possible.
Nice, thank you.
And if we can grab a quick zoom of that before we move on, that'd be great, please.
Video, if you want to take a quick zoom on that.
Okay, thanks for trying.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Let's move on.
So there's quite a current down there?
I'm not sure if that was current or just a combination of the angle. It was down in a little gully, I think, and it wasn't convenient in terms of which way the ship's going. Actually, I didn't even note the heading. Sorry.
Okay, well, we're just curious.
Yep, I think it's more a matter of the ship moves. It's
Everything else moves.
continuing uphill.
That's great. We'll just keep going and see what we see. Again, it's possible if there really are corrugations in the fault surface that when we get into the sort of more gently dipping part or sort of the flatter bits of the corrugation, we may have much thicker sediment, and then we go back up sort of a wall. And so we may have been on a wall early for the early part of the dive. Now we're in one of the sort of flats of the corrugation, and then we'll hit another wall coming up.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get that. It looks like there's, because this ridge now is nearest is looking a little bit off to the right of it. Sorry, the Little Herc is looking a little bit off to the right of it. But in the Sirius view, Sirius is on a heading of 332 degrees. Okay, pilot, I think those ones off to the left, the furthest ahead. Maybe we can go in under the lasers right there. Slowly, bit round to the right again. Yep, that little block just to the right of the lasers right now.
Are you using, there's a button that said, there's a button specifically for creating RTP multicasts. If you just kind of change the address in that first page, it doesn't work. You actually have to click the button, RTP multicast view.
And Little Herc right now is on a heading of 355 degrees, depth of 3270 meters. Come across a few of these rocks.
Bring him ahead left just to light you up, Jeff. But when we leave, we'll go off to the right slightly.
And maybe the that dark rock that's just to the left of the lasers. Keep going left, left, and then up. Up from there.
Up.
Next rock up. There's a dark one, and you can see all the dark face exposed with no mud on it. Up a little more. Yep. Well, that's the one. If we can just get a little closer to that, if it's possible. And if we can grab a quick zoom of that before we move on, that'd be great, please. Okay, thanks for trying. No problem. Let's move on.
So there's quite a current down there?
I'm not sure if that was current or just a combination of the angle. It was down in a little gully, I think, and it wasn't convenient in terms of which way the ship's going. Actually, I didn't even note the heading. Sorry.
Okay, well, we're just curious.
Yeah, I think it's more a matter of the ship moves. It's
Everything else moves.
continuing uphill.
That's great. We'll just keep going and see what we see. Again, it's possible if there really are corrugations in the fault surface that when we get into the sort of more gently dipping part or sort of the flatter bits of the corrugation, we may have much thicker sediment, and then we go back up sort of a wall. And so we may have been on a wall early for the early part of the dive. Now we're in one of the sort of flats of the corrugation, and then we'll hit another wall coming up.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get that. It looks like there's, because this ridge now is nearest is looking a little bit off to the right of it. Sorry, the little Herc is looking a little bit off to the right of it. But in the Sirius view, Sirius is on a heading of 332 degrees. I almost believe that that's the way that the ridges and gullies are headed. Little bits of rocks exposed just here. Little Herc currently on a heading of 025 degrees. Water depth 3264 meters. A lot of fragments here of rock, but very high sediment cover.
That's a pretty clean looking face.
It is. It's probably a joint that's cutting through foliated rock. So we're looking at a cross section.
Okay, full wide roll. Thank you. That was nice.
Tell me, Bobby, are you getting in?
Carry on up.
Pilot, please carry on up.
Here we go.
Serious photos. Excellent right here. This is incredible.
We need to get clarification on that.
Okay, where is it now?
Dwight, you there? Okay, where are you speaking from? Not, I mean, where are you speaking from? Yeah, the which RTS unit?
Waypoint here, please.
Nav, may we have a waypoint here, please?
Okay.
036.
Ah, Roger. Now from. Sorry, Paul. In the name of science.
You know what sends the ROV down?
Say again?
You know what sends the ROV down?
What's that?
Funding.
Yeah.
That's very good. Yeah. Actually,
This
Dwight,
is just
stand
an
by. We're
enormous
actually
chasm.
working on that right now.
So I'm 43 looking at this. Okay, I'm full up now.
Grand Canyon of Mount Dent.
I'm just going to go straight
That's
up
just what it looks like.
along this face. Okay. Dan, could we slow down the ship to point one?
This is quite remarkable.
Yeah, I'm just afraid of this.
Speculating here that there is a nice foliation that's parallel to the oceanic detachment fault, and things are just fracturing along that foliation and sliding down the hill, and so we're seeing big talus that are big flabby talus sort of bounced up against the flats of these corrugations, and then as we go up to steep parts, potentially we're seeing these chasms through the fault zone.
Okay.
Well, there's certainly big slabs here. Do you want to come close into these two big
Okeanos, what we
slabs
want to do
coming
is
into
want
the
to
screen?
confirm that you're getting audio.
Okay, sorry, we haven't got
on,
time.
Transmit 1,
just getting
transmit
straight
2, which should be the Interspace Center RX5, RX6.
I understand, pilot.
So I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do a 10 count. 1, 2, 3,
No, quite right.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Again,
Okay.
thank you. It's
Now what
really
what's
spectacular scenery.
What are you looking at on 6?
For the record, we are at a depth of 3185 meters on a heading of 336 degrees. This is the Ocean Explorer in the Cayman Islands exclusive economic zone, working our way up the southern side of Mount Dent.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Well, let me count the. I'll just continue to count because no one was speaking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
For those
6,
of you watching
7,
at home, we've just
8,
come up an exceptionally
9,
steep,
10.
very rugged topography
1, 2,
with very,
3,
very large
4,
boulders
5,
sort of
6,
clinging to a cliff
7,
face.
8,
You can imagine
9,
them just slipping
10.
off any time. And we seem to be coming up to a shoulder here,
Okay.
and you can see the sediment drape has
Okay.
started again.
All right, stand by.
But if you look in the Sirius video, you can see there seems to be a bit of a ridge developing, large boulder, almost just perched to our right here, and you think there's a little nudge or just send it crashing down into the abyss. This is exceptionally rugged topography, taking an enormous amount of skill driving by the pilots. You know, they can't afford to actually miss anything. They've got to make sure everything that's in front of them, they know exactly where it is, and so they can actually go over it rather than into it, because that would be very bad news.
So I'm looking 35 out here. Okay, so I'm out in front of you again. Yeah. I know. I'm pretty much. I've hauled up quite a bit, so I'm gonna let it Sirius stay for a minute.
Hey Bobby, it looks as though that slab would just go straight off the edge, doesn't it?
You're slowly. Yeah, what's holding it off?
I guess weight and friction.
I think there aren't very many large magnitude earthquakes here.
Yeah.
There's a big chasm. Wall correction. To admire.
Exceptionally rugged topography still. Smaller boulders this time. Very, very little in the way of fauna along this area. One wonders just how tectonically active it is.
Thanks, Chris. More of the same, huh? Because it would get caught.
Having said there's not much way forward, I see a
3,
sponge.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Possible to get an estimate from the navigator as to where we are relative to our waypoint at 3,000, roughly 3,000 meters?
Navigator, could you give me a bearing and a distance from the 2,000 meter contour to here?
Yeah, I was just mouthing. I wasn't actually saying anything.
Just doing that, Bobby.
All right.
Other points associated with that? Well, this is what we were talking about earlier, where Camille will Sirius go like a circle with all the speeds, so that he doesn't have to type in addresses and all that. You know, it's just a free-saved list. It's kind of fun.
Distance was from the waypoint that we put in
All
our
right. Interspace Center, Interspace Center. This is NPL.
Hang on a minute, there's 3 people.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So, Dwight, are you hearing me on? Are you hearing my audio through the Sirius embedded audio? The Sirius feed. So it's RTX2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can you go back in there and confirm it one more time? Okay. All right, we're embedding it because we're actually able to verify our multicast outbound stream on the ship, and so they're definitely hearing us. Or my audio is definitely being embedded in RTX2. And RTX2 is the HD shot from Sirius looking at Little Hercules. Multicast address 233252292. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Do you want me to take you
9,
out of AMX
10.
for a minute so that you can ID this?
Okay, roger that.
They'll only hear you through. Do you want me to take you out of the AMX right now so they only hear you through the TX2?
Hang on. Silver Spring, Silver Spring. All right, so I need you to pull up, Kyle. I need you to pull up TX2. All right. So do you have the ability to listen to the embedded audio?
The pilot just announced there's a rock in front of him, and as you can see, it's coming into the screen here. It's a serious rock.
Okay, so you do hear this audio coming through TX stream 2. Okay. Do you also hear Paul Tyler? Paul Tyler is our chief scientist on board. British accent? Okay.
As long as you can skid round it. Yeah. It's a bit like slaloming this, isn't
All
it,
right,
really?
so Interspace Center, Okeanos Explorer. Silver Spring is confirming they are receiving via VLC the embedded audio that we were expecting.
I just
Didn't
said it
know
was a
if you
bit
could
like
pull up
slaloming.
VLC at the Interspace Center and take a look at the metadata information to see if you could pull the sampling rate from that. Up. Greg, if you're there in the dry lab, if you could look at the metadata information for that stream and pull the audio sample rate. Roger that.
Now I know you think this is all this large sailors coming down the slope, but
Peek in on Greg. I don't know if you heard.
That's just fine by me.
I need to talk. I need to communicate with him. You know. Yeah. No problem. All right. This is the sample rate according to VLC on the boat is 48 kilohertz at 64 bit. That's CD quality.
Hello, Nav.
That's CD quality.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys, because of the time to get back to the surface, we have about an hour of bottom time left. That'll take us through to about 3 o'clock ship time, 4 o'clock URI time, and I guess 9 o'clock UK time. Okay, we can see here just a contrast here with a jumble of, I can only say rock rubble to the left and a nice smooth sediment coat to the right. As someone that's spent most of their career working on soft sediment, this is just an eye-opener.
can you just turn slightly to the left to look at the rock on the left side of the screen?
Pilot,
I think
can
what
we
you
turn
see is
slightly
probably
to
what
the
you're going to
left,
get.
please?
Keep in
And,
mind that we
that's
actually are
fine,
going to
that
be
one.
engaged in an actual dive, and the quad, with the way that it's
Okay,
set
Bobby.
up, is
Good?
an integral part of the whole telepresence operation. So what you see right now is probably exactly the way it'll be set up.
We'll just continue up like this, maybe
Yeah.
panning up a little bit.
Okay, if you can go up steadily, please.
All right, and then so what? Yep.
Go and pan around, please, pilot.
That's a question for the Interspace Center. Interspace Center, Okeanos Explorer. Kyle, did you get that information in an email about a week ago?
Okay, we can zoom out now.
Say again?
Zoom the camera out, please.
Can we zoom the camera out, please?
Okay, I didn't know if you could.
Thank you.
open up the NOAA webmail system on one of the ECC computers, and I understand the phone is not the easiest way to do it.
Okay, we can see a ridge going up here. As we're moving up so quickly, depth is now 3,147.
All right. What we want to do real quick is we'll give you guys a preview of what we want to do as far as our control room shot. So,
Mostly
Roland, if you
quite
can
difficult
pull
to
up
get very accurate depths
CR5
here.
on TX2.
It's bouncing 10 meters because of the steepness of the slope. But we're going up pretty quickly at the moment.
So Kyle, you should be able to see me, and the audio should match. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 2 counts behind. All right. Now again, you in this particular case, you want to turn off MPL, and you want to listen to the audio that's actually embedded in the video stream. So do you have a set of speakers hooked up to that center computer? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
The pilots are convinced they're looking for a 26. Oh, there's a large red octopus, yeah. He wasn't kidding, yeah. Yeah. If you're looking serious, folks, you can just see it's it's actually a squid.
Yeah, you should hear the scientists as well. Remember, tomorrow you all right, hang on 1 second. All right, Roland, can you switch AMIX and BMIX?
We're continuing up slope. Again, very steep slope. It's amazing the angle of the slope that sediment will actually rest on.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And sometimes you see these little rivulets of sediment
Right,
moving down.
so what are you hearing now,
it
Kyle?
doesn't go down as a mass slump.
Are you hearing me?
This okay, Bobby?
Okay. Now, are you hearing me through the embedded audio in the video, or are you hearing me through the intercom?
Okay. I'm just getting the pilots to literally stick with the rock face.
Okay.
And Sirius is right above.
And so Paul, who's talking right now, he is significantly louder than me. Okay. All right. Are there other scientists on the line that you're also hearing? Okay, yeah, what we did, this particular audio stream is just going to be from the boat. And for the interaction,
looks as though we're just going over a rise
because
here.
What's going to happen is right now I'm able to hear you. If we were in bed both sides of the conversation, you would hear yourself when you say something.
Left of the
then you would hear yourself again when it came back to you through the video, and then you would hear my response. By doing this, where basically you are talking to MPL but not listening to MPL while you're communicating with the ship, you won't hear yourself twice essentially.
Can we zoom out or pull out, please, pilot?
Right, exactly. Like for instance, let's put this in a QA format. Ask me my name right now.
They just want to get the full perspective of where we are. Tell me when to stop, Bobby.
Yes, Silver Spring. Hi, this is Web Pinner from the Okeanos Explorer.
That's fine. Now, do you want to start moving forward over this?
So you see how that workflow works now?
I think we've run out of time yet again. Here. Oh no, we're going forward over it.
Okay. So I think. Okay. Sure. Roland, if you can switch back CR5 back to the camera sled. Thank you. Okay.
This looks good to me, Bobby. Is this okay for you?
All right. Well, I'm not sure how they're. I'm not, see, what I'm confused about is I don't know who on shore has MPL.
That's great.
Yeah, we're just wondering who's got MPL and who doesn't.
Okay, well, we're sorry to ask you to repeat things at times. You know, there's a huge amount of traffic between the pilots as necessary here because of the rugged terrain. And so it's not quite continuous, but it's pretty steady.
Yeah, no problem. Frame into that remaining port on the hub.
There's a lot of very careful maneuvering going on at the moment.
You can't.
They're being very, very sensible in this area. It's very rugged.
Yeah, that's
it's very,
what
very
you have
steep.
to. You have to go. You have to go to
Keeping
keep
an eye,
handling. That's what I did
making sure
before.
Sirius is in the right
off.
place to keep an eye on the ROV to make sure it doesn't get itself into any trouble.
No, it doesn't say you're.
Quite
Yeah,
right.
there you are. It's talking to you. This will probably make it go away. Did it go away? Should talk again. Yeah. All right, let me know. That's weird. I don't know why.
Right. You know, we had a problem with that on the Okeanos a couple years ago, and it was a firmware issue.
And I can't call up anything now.
Yeah.
I can't get any remote sites on this panel at all. I can't get any of the other sites.
Yeah, Brian Rains and I worked through that back in 08. Or 09, excuse me.
Well, I'd have to. The problem is I don't know which node.
Well, we had a host of issues, but one of them.
The other thing is we only have 7 nodes.
The firmware update in the Miranda was part of the solution.
Yeah.
We had another Tamberg issue. You're absolutely right, though.
Well, he's on the party line. See, he's not talking to them individually. That's the problem.
Oh wow! And you look at the Sirius images and just see.
It is. It's 122.
It's just like it just looks vertical. You know, when you're closer down with Hercules, not quite, but you know, just look at that. You know, stepping off a precipice. Oh, he's just stepped off. And you can see in the Sirius there, you know, looks like a sheer wall of sediment.
No, from this, you can't do it from the key panel. You got to do it.
It's very steep.
What, type in. No, I won't let you do that. 'Cause it's not active.
Okay, we're heading back up now.
I've tried that and it didn't work. Tried putting it. What's weird is I had it before without trying to do it. Without, intentionally. All I did was added
Hang on a minute, Bobby.
MPL
Hang
destination.
on a minute, please. Hi, Nav.
To the. I'll stick it in here. N122.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Bobby, just to let you know, we have an hour of bottom time left, according to the navigator. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, I don't think there's. Well, I don't know who's talking, but.
Okay, Nav, could we have a waypoint here, please?
That's not
and
working.
And if Little Hercules could turn slightly to the right, please, that would be appreciated. And if Nav could tell me the waypoint number. Thank you, Nav.
Number of the waypoint, just for clarity?
037.
Second.
That looks good to me. I'll just say, Bobby, is this what you want to look at? Was that a yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am, Bob.
We just continue up to our left.
Okay, yes, if we could just go in, look at that, please, and then continue up to the left. Thank you.
Something else you could do, Bob, if you really. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, actually, something else you could do, Bob, is you could pop the fourth card out of the NOAA
I think a reasonably quick one. I
decoders.
don't think.
That's already
I don't
that one's
think,
already
Bobby
configured
wants to
for
spend
looking
too
at
long
stream
here.
1.
I think she's quite keen to move up the slope. The
Correct.
various things are catching us up at the moment, so we have to wait. Oh, I see a single coral there. Please, can we pull that back out? Can we pull wide?
Yeah, if you hear Bob
And then
not
migrate
now.
up towards the left, please.
Right.
You should have a key
Understand.
that says N122. Yeah. On listen, you should hear it.
Okay.
So that,
Is there
that
anything around
worked
here
this
we can
time
actually?
on
We've
that
got a few
trunk.
minutes here by the sounds of it. Bobby,
I don't know.
do you anything you want to
Yeah,
look at closely?
Okay. All right. Well, I mean,
But
if you
the
want,
trunk's different
if you want to
tomorrow,
try
it
a
won't work.
different IRD,
Do you see there's a
might have
large
a different
rock
firmware
ahead?
version, and it's already
Is that any
pre-configured
help?
to look at the stream, and its brethren
Can you
are
see the one I mean?
successfully doing it. Feel free to grab that card.
Let's go straight ahead and look at that face there, please, pilot.
Okay. So.
Looks to be like a coal seam.
Right, you shouldn't just hear her. Yeah, that other trunk was latched to your panel, but it
All
wasn't
right,
in a destination. I don't know. That's weird.
I'll also talk to the cruise coordinator and make sure that we can get the
think we're
space.
tricking
We
the
typically
system.
Sorry, I
do
missed
science
that.
Yeah, no
meetings in the
problem.
morning on our descents. It might not be a problem. It might not be a problem, Dwight. So.
Okay. Bobby, we got a fair bit of time here by the sounds of it. No, would you like to have a really good look
Well,
here?
I think
have
I
to
feel
wait
we're a
anyway.
long way from having it right. So yeah, I mean, I think the sooner the better. I mean, here's the thing: it's like we're around. Okay, we're around all day. So if you want to do it on the ascent, this ascent maybe, which will be like in an hour. Oh, okay.
Pilot,
We can do that. No, we can absolutely do
pilot
that.
request
All right,
here.
so that would be what
Can
time?
we turn the ROV 40 degrees to the right, zoom out completely, and have the
8:30-ish
camera
Eastern.
horizontal?
We put in right. That's right. We put in the water 8:30 local. So, but that's not a problem. That's not a problem. Okay. All right. So that's 8 o'clock, 8:30. That's
They're
7
trying to
o'clock,
get
7:30 ship
the
local.
dip that they can see in the series
Okay.
image. Camera horizontal. Does that help? Is that what you want? Camera is horizontal.
Okay. I think we got them squared away. Like they understand. I think they're pretty happy with their setup in terms
Sorry,
of they're going to have
now.
two quads
So
and the
it
ship in
was
the middle.
horizontal. The camera definitely.
What they'll need to do is they'll just need to. I think all they need to do is they need to build.
I would have thought that slope was 40 degrees.
They need to add the Nautilus Studio feed to their playlist, so that way they can toggle between the Okeanos control room and the Nautilus. Okay, and you saw the feed from the Okeanos control room?
Did you?
Okay. All right.
Did you get that, Bobby?
It is. Absolutely it is. Okay. All right. Well, we'll touch
somebody
base.
decided
Yep.
they had to get
We'll
out
look
here.
to hear from you 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. All right.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Continuing on upwards, folks. The tether is exceptionally close to the cliff at the moment.
All right, Roland.
And,
So if you want to do whichever mix, the standard audio
Sirius
setup
is right over the
on all
cliff.
3 feeds.
It gives you some idea. See the tether, and I guess they don't want to abrade that against any of these rocks. I'm not sure how sharp these rocks are, but they don't want to actually damage the cable at all.
Go ahead, video.
Just informing you that we put you back into the transmit mix, audio-wise.
Okay, thank you. Nav bridge.
Go ahead, Bridge.
Got about 25 meters left in this move.
Great. Can we add another 60 to that?
Sure.
Thanks.
Same was it 330?
330 at 0.1.
Okay, got it.
Depth is 3104 meters, heading 314 at the moment. For those on shore, this is the Ocean Explorer working in the Cayman Islands exclusive economic zone. We're working to the south of Mount Dent along the mid-Cayman Rise. At the present, we are at a depth, the ROV is at a depth of fractionally over 3,000 meters, and we're working our way up the slope where there is a lot of rock rubble and some sediment covering the rocks. Very dramatic area.
Follow right, you converge with me, and you converge with the capsize. So. Did you copy that, Science? We're going to go right a little bit to converge with me, and the ROV is going to, seems like the chasm's going right a bit.
That sounds fine to me.
My heading is 045. Rowan, could you zoom in? Okay, hold it. And you can zoom out.
Bobby, just out of interest, are these faults, all these cracks, is this a sort of a function of earthquake damage?
I think we've been sort of following, in essence, a gully on the slope.
Hang on, Bobby. The pilot's talking. Please repeat, pilot.
I was going to look forward, but then I realized there's not enough light to look forward to see what's ahead of us. Like that.
Yeah. So you're still going to continue upwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Science. The terrain's getting a little less interesting, so there's less returns on our sonar. I think, I'm not sure if the steepness seems to be subsiding at the moment.
I'll pass this message back to Bobby. Bobby, this is actually really interesting. Suddenly all the sonar reflectors seem to have gone, and I'm just wondering, the ROV guys wondering, are we moving into another sort of sedimentary type area that we crossed earlier on?
I think we've come up a steep slope, and now we're going to go back into one of those flats that's heavily sedimented. I'm not sure how quickly we can zip across this sedimented flat, but then we could potentially hit another one of these corrugation walls just at the very end of the dive if we can nip across the sediment quickly.
Okay, I'll find if I've got a bigger stick to beat the pilots, and I'll pass that message on. Not sure you copied that, guys. If this is a sedimentary area, we'd like to sort of zip across it fairly quickly to find some more of the crumpled up rocks.
I'm comfortable going. Let's start off with point 2, and we might be able to speed up to point 3. Roger that. We only have about 60 to 70 meters to our final waypoint, so I'll talk to Science if they want to add anything, but if we want to zip across this.
Or at least we needn't dally.
Yeah, Chris, we've only got 60 or 70 meters to the final waypoint. Do you want to put in a waypoint beyond the final waypoint, a sort of final waypoint? We still have about 45 minutes of bottom time.
Yeah, let's get Bobby on mic to confirm that, but I would think just keep heading along that strike, so if they just put something out another 500 meters away on the same heading would probably work well.
I'll get Nav to actually prepare it in case we need it.
Thanks,
Nav?
Paul.
That's exactly the direction we'd like to go.
Yeah, what we'd like to do is, if we actually come across to the what is the end waypoint, we would just like to extend the line, maybe along, put down another 500 meters, put a marker 500 meters on, and we'll follow that till we run out of time. Thank you very much.
That's great.
For those that are watching the video here, you can see the shadow cast by the ROV. The lights are coming down from Sirius, which is above the ROV, and it's videoing the ROV and then casting a shadow onto the sediment. If any of you wonder what that was. But again, steep sedimented slope round here. You get a very good view from Sirius. Just realise just how steep this slope is. When you're close to it with the ROV, sometimes doesn't look that steep, but when you come away and you look up, it's looking up a mountainside, sort of thing people ski down. Thank you. Just out of interest, Bobby, we're now 350 meters vertically above the start point.
That's wonderful. In progress today.
Pilots and nav, that's well appreciated. That's exactly what they wanted.
Then upward.
Yeah, we're moving up. But I just find it's really interesting that it bears out your idea of this, rock, very shattered, very steep, and then the flat bit or relatively flat sedimentary area, and then there was another steep bit. Now we've got another flat bit. If we can just find the next steep bit, I think that would just be really, really interesting. And I'm a biologist. Looking in Sirius, it doesn't look as though there's much ahead of us except sediment at the moment. Yeah. Okay.
So Vince, while we're pushing along here, just keep your camera angle fixed. Okay. That way I'll know if I get ahead of you. I'm going to adjust it to 45, as you wish. So it's adjusted to 45. And then there is on your left a little bit, there's a small shadow. So there might be some about 10 meters from you.
It's when you turn the camera, or turn the ROV, you realise though it looks flat as you're going along, it's not. It's still 30, 40 degrees.
no, I can't go down there.
Let's keep going up, guys.
But you can see that the sort of saddle that we're on falls off to the left there. So I'm going to haul up a little bit.
I think one of the interesting things about this sort of area is why there is such a paucity of large animals. Looking at the seabed, it looks as though that's sort of phytodetrital type material covering the seabed, so one might expect to see things like holothurians or sea urchins, brittle stars, sea stars, all these sort of animals. They seem quite rare. The suggestion for the has been they're all rolled down to the bottom of the hill. That could be the case. so, I know from working in the Bahamas, these guys can hang on really tight on some of the steepest slopes. But it could just be that the production is very low and the numbers are very few. It'd be nice to go up it. It's just so spectacular. It's just like climbing mountainsides.
This linear array of little humps here. Yeah, this doesn't appear on the sonar. Your sonar, not mine. That's curious. I'm going to take a quick look up. Let's see what's ahead of us. Perfect. Hey, Ryan, if you could help me get the, maybe extract more information. So, you see that? That's the terrain ahead of us. Science, can you see that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
Looks a bit. Yeah, it looks a bit smooth to me. Let's keep going.
Bit of a sand dune here on our left. All right, I'm back at 45.
Yes, there's a few small outcrops here, but really very, very little.
Let's just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, please keep moving forward, guys.
Sorry about this, is Nav.
Just say name.
Hey, dude. Do you think it's best at 0.2 knots, or should we kick it up to 0.3 and check the sonar, see if we're running into anything?
What's our full time? What's the difference?
Some pock marks coming up in the Sirius view.
Just to keep you updated, we have about 35 minutes left on time, and I'll figure those other two out right now.
Bobby, we're just talking about how much time we've got left. We've got 35 minutes left.
Average.
They're thinking about upping it to 0.3 knots
Go ahead.
to get across this sediment.
I'm sorry?
20 meters,
what do you think?
20 meters.
Yeah?
Okay, can we add 40 more?
40, you got it.
Thanks.
They can.
Okay, guys, if you want to go up to 0.3 knots to get across the sediment, that would be appreciated.
That's a big footprint. That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's agreed. Yeah, that's a footprint. On my view, it looks like Bigfoot.
That's a slump.
A slump, yeah.
So in 25 minutes, we could cover about 90 or so more meters at 0.3.
Right, that's basically the reverse. Looking at 100 meters.
Right.
Let me see if I can tease more out of this one.
We're going to try and see if we can get across this Oh, sorry, I'm talking to all people. Sorry, Bob, you're going to try and get across this to just see how wide it is. They reckon at 0.3 knots we've got another 90 meters in the time available going across here. So we're going to try that. You okay with that?
Sure. What is the sort of green band in the sonar that we see on the Hercules?
Hi, Bobby. It's Dave.
They're tweaking the sonar at the moment to see if they can, get better reflectors out of it.
Yeah, that's just the slope in front of Little Hercules. It's a low reflective sediment. And so the green band is just the stronger, nearer echo.
It's a reflection off the sediment. It's an echo.
Okay, so there's a little ridge directly in front of us.
Yeah.
No, there's a whole mountainside directly in front of us, so we can't see very far out. Now, as you see, as Little Hercules swings its head left, you see the aspect change. So,
okay, whatever you guys can do to try and get across the sediment, if we could, that would be wonderful. If not, then that's what we're doing.
yeah, we're going to punch it here and cover as much ground in the time available.
And I think the thing to follow is going to be the sonar on Sirius, because that's higher off the bottom, so it'll see any bright targets faster. Little Herc is flying too close to actually sonar to be so useful for a forward look.
Okay, can we add another 50 then?
50 meters.
Okay, what we're doing, guys, is we're moving forward. We're going to try and move forward about 0.3 knots to see if we can cover this sedimentary area, if nothing else, to try and find its width, and try and get to the base of the next set of rocks. Got about 90 meters to cover in the time available, because we have to allow a certain amount of time to come up from 3,000 meters-ish up towards the surface.
Sirius rises, we'll stay facing the slope and we get more range out of our sonar.
Okay. Bobby, Dave said to me, when we come to the point of having to leave the bottom, they'll set up Sirius in such a way that the sonar is facing the slope. So we might see if there's a reflector as it's coming up. And we might get some idea where the base of the next wall might be. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave, for doing that when we leave the bottom. That's really very useful.
Boy, these holes! I'd love to look down them, but we're going straight up. Sorry, Bobby, I don't think they can resist looking down the hole.
These holes.
Go ahead, Bridge.
About 25 meters from the end of this move.
Okay, let's extend it another 50, please.
50, you got it.
Oh, I see.
See if we can get a look down that smaller one there.
Sorry, Bobby, something's grabbed the guy's interest, so they're just stopping for a second.
Yeah, look down the hole, please. It would be useful to know who lives down there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, whoever it is, it's big. The hole's 18 centimeters in diameter.
Yep.
Not someone to meet in a dark alley one night.
Something that might live down there is something like the giant isopod Bathynomus. This is about 30 centimeters long. That's a foot long in old units, and this is a really large crustacean. and they live in burrows like that, and they're really pretty monstrous to look at.
Okay, I'm right over you.
Yep, now we got it going.
So you could, I'm looking straight down. Okay. So you could, yeah, rotate right. And I'll come back up to, slowly come back to 45 with you. Keep coming.
I didn't want you to get too close, but I think it would be great.
Thanks. One turtle's enough. So I'm looking, reading one at you. Yeah, just come that direction. And then I'll slowly follow you to 45.
Pilots I see are looking at the little something coming up on Hercules' sonar.
They've picked that up, Bobby, and we're sort of turning Hercules at the moment. I say we, I use the royal we here, and we're turning to go towards it. Oh, that looks good. It's about, it was about 40 meters off. There's something.
It's just a little something, but it could be something.
3 meters straight ahead.
I think it might be a bit more solid than.
Oh, she can start to see it. I'm gonna put my camera a little bit forward. Yeah, there's a.
RV nav bridge.
Go ahead, Bridge.
35 meters left.
Great. Can we add another 30?
Another 30.
Thanks.
So drop off just stay on the goalie a little bit. Look at the goalie, but look a little bit more right. Because right now you're out of my screen.
Yeah, just fly over the top of it and look down.
No, we're down there. Just gotta see it though.
Yeah, this is an isolated feature here. There's not really else.
Nothing else on sonar?
Nothing
No,
big.
not that I can see.
It just looks like the setting is swept away for some reason.
You're at him. Okay. I can't really see your light. Would you turn and look at me for a moment? So I'm gonna point. I need to back exactly. Almost west. I'm looking west at the moment. Back up, get a little bit of tether. And I'll come back and do a picture now. Alright, I'll slowly follow you to 330. Maybe I'll just go up this little side. Oops, feature right
Yeah,
there.
you can run up there. There's some low-hanging fruit to be picked on the way by.
So I'm gonna let you go in the center and then I'm gonna move the camera.
As you can see, Bobby, there's some bits of rock here, but it's still quite a lot of sedimentary drape, and I get the impression the reflectors aren't that strong.
Yeah, we see that. Still, any rocks are good rocks.
Carrying on 330.
Wonderful.
So I'm looking.
It looks much steeper sediment here. We were going over sort of classic slope here. We've got ridge and furrow and hole system. This has got more topography than what we were going over just now.
So I'm looking at 330 at you right now. Good.
Hopefully we'll come up against some rock again, rocks.
So I'm looking 300.
It's not looking that good in terms of the sonar, and Sirius looks as though it's looking ahead at sediment as well. though there's some topography in the sediment.
315.
About 15 minutes left.
59.
Oh,
So set back
nice
to
ridge.
30. So we still have the return on your sonar on the left. We just came from. On the right, there's I guess a few of these depressions that I see on the sonar. Wow, look at that. Couple of depressions. Look at that.
1 second. RV nav this bridge.
Go ahead, Bridge.
30 meters left.
Alright, can we do another 50?
Another 50, you got it.
Second, what's happening is there's a lot of slumping and rock is exposed. Rock off to our west. It's exposed.
Depth 3002, heading 318.
Alright, I'm looking 44 degrees tilt and briefly.
Just keep continuing across these giant pock marks.
Nicely said.
I'm sorry, Bobby, about the giant pot marks?
Keep continuing. The view from Sirius is really quite remarkable of these giant holes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few of those. There's a lot of depressions around here.
One wonders if this is just very heavy sediment filling in a boulder field.
I guess only geophysics will tell you that, won't it?
Good call, Paul.
Sorry. Dave says we know in some of them where the bottom of the pit has been exposed, there's gravel and quite large, I don't know, couple of foot diameter angular rocks. I think we saw. So that's a holothurian.
Yeah, hang on. It'd be good to see if I can get that.
Actually, I'm more interested in what's at the bottom of yours.
Okay.
We know it's a holothurian structure here to pock marks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're interested in at the bottom where it's a hole and gravel. Like this would not be part of it. What's down there?
Science component?
Go ahead.
Guys, do you want me to get on top of Little Hertz and then I can look down to give some perspective? Is that necessary?
That could be very helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, pilot, I'm gonna let you go on top of me. You on top, I on top of you, and then I'm gonna look down perpendicular. Copy that.
Don't forget, guys, we're moving at 0.3, so
Roll, you want to zoom
yeah,
it's not gonna real quick? I can't tilt it on anymore.
Yes, you can.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
I'm not sure what that tells us, Bobby. There's a hole in the ground with some bits of seagrass in the bottom.
What made the hole essentially?
That's a
Yeah,
good.
I don't know either.
No. We've seen a number of these holes round here. We saw one last year. They're footprints.
So science, that's probably the best I can get. I'm at 70 degrees looking down at Little Hurt.
That's fine. That's great.
I'll get back in position. Pilot, I've moved the rover, so don't. Let me adjust the screen. Whoops. All right, so I'm looking 290 at you. That's about 300. I might be able to get this one a little bit better from my position.
That's right.
Yes.
Just got a little bit of direction.
There you go. It might be through the air conditioning. Can you get that one?
Doesn't seem to be very much in there. Bits of sargassum, possibly. Is that a dead bit of sargassum? Very strange.
Yep. Alright, so let's get, let's get
Okay.
the center. I'm pointing 300 at you, so you might want to just go your current course so you can intersect me a little bit more. Copy that. A little bit more right on your, a little bit more right, and then go on your current course. I'll slowly come to 330. See, and I'm looking 16, so.
Nav bridge.
Go ahead, bridge.
20 meters remaining. So pilot's got about 6 minutes of bottom time left. I'm not counting to the next move. We have 20 meters left in it.
So stop the ship when we are showing when set up. Thanks.
Roger that.
Yes, I fear we're not going to find a rock face today, folks.
Copy, I'll stop.